Mike's hot. Testing.
Yeah,
We're good.
We're good.
All right. All right, track nerds. We are here the day before the 5th Avenue Mile. We're sitting down with the newly minted Irish 1500 meter record, Ciara Mageean. We wanted to get you out last night to the Pints and PRs event, but you were just coming in from a very long, successful season in Europe. We're very glad that we had an opportunity to sit down. How are you feeling right now?
I'm feeling very good. I'm delighted to be able to come and have the crack with you guys because it's going to be good fun. But yeah, I'm on cloud 9 after the season that I've had. And excited to get out on 5th Ave and finish up the season, hopefully with a bang.
I think, was it in Zurich or Brussels? You called this the best week of your life, I guess, so far. Like, how magical has this week been?
Do you know what? It's kind of taken me away. To come out this summer, I had 2 aims, and that was to medal at Commonwealth and Europeans. So whenever I achieved both of those, I always go out there and aim for gold, but to get 2 silvers was absolutely fantastic, and I knew that that's probably realistically where I felt I had been. But I knew I was in good shape, and I was like, I just want a couple more fast races. Believe me, it was hard to get into them. Like, my agent Ricky had to work hard to get me into those races. I knew I could run a PB. I never went under 4. But to go out in Brussels and to run a 3:56, like, it blew my mind. I was over the moon. And then to get into the Diamond League final in Zurich, first ever Diamond League final, and to finish second behind Faith, which is like she'll go down in history as one of the greatest 1500 meter runners of all time. Yeah, couldn't get any better.
Well, so I love, after Commonwealth and European, Laura obviously runs great, and afterwards, I think there was a quote. You basically were like, "Yeah, Laura is Laura. Like, I can only run 3:58 right now. I don't know if I'm ready for that." And then immediately you turn around and surprise yourself, beating her and running 3:56. At what point in that race were you realizing how good it was going?
Yeah, to be honest, you go into the race with like a healthy respect for the athletes around you, but I knew that I was in sub 4 shape. I knew I could probably run an Irish record. Sonia's record was 3:58.85, and I felt I could do a 3:58 low or maybe a 3:57. But like anything, yourself, like everything has to come together well and right on the day. And it was probably whenever the bell went and I went round and got onto the back straight in Brussels, and I got on Laura's shoulder, and I kind of had a moment that I was like, well, don't stop there. You're feeling so good. And I could only describe it like whenever people talk about being in the zone and just not, kind of literally like an out of body experience. That race felt like that. I was just like, you're not feeling tired yet. I was like, you're not tired yet. Keep going. So I got past Laura and I was like, bloody keep going. And I like got to 200 and you're like, the legs are still feeling good. And I kind of thought, you've nothing to lose. Just give it everything. Give it a lash. And had told myself, you're diving over that line no matter what. Because like if I missed it by a split second, I'd be absolutely fuming. I didn't fully grasp like what pace I was on for. I could see the clock at the bell. I knew, okay, if I run a decent last lap, I'm in. I'll have the Irish record. But I didn't actually see the clock when I crossed the line. I said to Laura, what time did I run?
You asked her?
Yeah, I was like, what time was it? And she said 3:56. And nobody knows this. So this is the first for you guys getting to hear it, and for everybody. My boyfriend told me I could get a puppy if I ran an Irish record.
No way.
And Laura knew it, and she goes, you can get a puppy. And you can actually see it in the interview.
What a funny celebration together.
So yeah, I was like, I get a puppy.
When is that the off-season plans now?
I feel like the maturity in us is like, okay, I really do want the dog, but
Maybe.
we rent a property. We have to make sure it's okay. But like genuinely, I've wanted a dog for a long time. So yeah, probably a little bit of me was running down that home straight like, I want a puppy, I want a puppy, I want a puppy.
What are we getting? What's the plan?
I have a very soft spot for spaniels. Like I grew up with Springer Spaniels and we have wee Cocker Spaniel at home.
Yeah.
But honestly, I just love dogs. I'd have any dog going. Absolutely love them. So we'll see.
Well, when we get puppies quite regularly on the family farm. So if you ever want some sheepdogs, we get like 6 a year.
I'll be down. I'll take 6.
Yeah.
I'll be that woman. I'd be that like crazy cat lady, crazy dog lady. Like there's a cat in our estate that I've just taken in. I don't even know who owns it. And it's like my pet now.
That's how I was in Donegal for a race once, and we stayed in like a bed and breakfast type of place, and they just all of a sudden a cat came in through the window, and I was drinking a juice box, which is a funny thing for an adult to do, and the cat just came up right next to me. I have a picture of it, me and the cat drinking a juice box together.
That's amazing.
All right,
Ireland.
very Donegal.
Yeah.
So Sonia was in attendance for the race, and,
Yeah.
and got to see that. But I want to know more about this picture, the first one that you posted, I guess, because now side by side, like that's a really special moment that she got to witness.
Where's the previous one
record
from?
being broken? Yeah.
So Patricia would probably know even better than me, your partner. I'm pretty sure that's Tullamore. So the Kit Kat was a sponsor for Irish Schools. Yeah, they were the sponsor for Irish Schools for a long time, and I recognized the bushes in the back. The track in Tullamore has a very distinct like hedgerow all the way around. I couldn't tell you the exact year. I think Sonia messaged under that being like, was this 2007, 2008 question mark. I certainly look very young, but I can distinctly remember in my youth meeting Sonia at a couple of races, like one being a cross country race, which that I'm not lucky enough for it to be a cross country race in Ireland in that picture. And she would have been at a few Irish Schools types events, and you know, like as a little shy teenager being like, can I have a picture with you, and like being in complete awe of Sonia, and then with the pressure that came of being a good junior, with everybody being like, oh, the next Sonia Sullivan, and that being put on your shoulders so young. But I always just thought like, to be compared to somebody like this. But honestly, that record has been like the monkey on my back for a long time. I always knew that I had the capability as an athlete to get there, but I often wondered, would I ever reach that, my full potential, and actually do it? So to finally do it was special, but to be able to share that moment with Sonia was really cool, because she was obviously there with the athletes that she's working with now. But on the cool down, I was running with the guys, and I saw her and I give her a hug, and you know, some of my friends are like, "Oh, is she a bit pissed that you took her record?"
I think
And
she's
was
okay
like,
at this point.
Yeah, I was like, no, Sonia had such a glistening athletics career and such a legend of our sport, not only in Ireland but globally. I'm like, I think she's okay. And to be honest, I think she's just delighted to see an Irish athlete up there competing at the top of the sport, which is, you know, the message that I've got from home is just phenomenal, that it's lifted so many people. It kind of makes me like, it makes me realize like that's exactly what I do it for everybody back home, and to represent my country at the highest level and to do them proud. So yeah, it's special to get that wee tricolour up there.
Well, it's funny. If regular listeners of the podcast would know, my wife and daughter are Irish, and so we watched the race together and we're going crazy. And then when you post that picture, and they're here in New York with us, you know, and I said, we got to get a picture of Leisha with Kira, so that way in 20 years, when she gets the 1500 record, we can post that picture on whatever social media platform is popular.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I'll be watching my heels.
But it must be amazing, like the reception. You haven't had the opportunity to go back home yet, but I had shared this in the lap count. You know, Ireland loves their statues. You of course got Sonia down in Cove, that like right in the center. You've got a very famous Sonia Sullivan statue. Is Portaferry, you guys, are you gonna get a statue?
Oh my god, I don't know where they put a statue up of me in Portaferry. Something like a wee scarecrow or something, perhaps in a field. One of my best friends from school is actually a primary school teacher. She's like, we're getting a statue.
Yeah,
we're getting it up.
Chris, every village has a statue.
Your finish line pose in Zurich was amazing. That's the statue.
That's going to be the statue.
We'll see. I'll have to get like special funding from Northern Irish like cultural fund or something to get a wee statue of me up. No, I think I'll be grand. I'll just be happy to get home and sit down and have a bit of crack with everybody, to be honest with you.
Well, so something that I think is really cool, when you run well, the stuff that you get to do in the community, like the goal mile and other, you know, going back and doing speaking events and the community stuff, like all of a sudden, I know you love doing that stuff. It's now amplified even more, because running fast, it is an opportunity to get a bigger platform, right? So like, now like I mean, I don't know if that's breaking news of what you're going to go do. Are you allowed to share that?
Yeah, Flip, I share everything. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know.
Anyway, so you're gonna have some really cool like media opportunities and other things coming up, and I don't know, like that's an element of running fast that isn't often talked about. Which, if you enjoy that stuff, it is really fun.
Which is super cool. Like, I definitely don't think I don't do the athletics for the fame. If you're gonna want to be famous at home, I'm sure you do something.
Camogie.
Yeah, I'd be playing Gaelic games and like get myself up there a bit more. But yeah, like to be able to be out there and to represent your sport, but like for me, like represent my hometown, representing the north, because I'm from the north of Ireland too, and representing the whole nation. It's something that's, I take a lot of pride in. And like I feel very fortunate that I represent I'm an ambassador for two charities at home. You'd mentioned the Goal Mile. I do that every Christmas myself in my hometown, run a Goal Mile. I'm also an ambassador for the Children's Cancer Unit charity up the north, and they're the only cancer unit charity in the whole of Northern Ireland. That's where all little kids with cancer go and get their treatment. I'm going to run a mile down the front of Stormont, which is like our Parliament buildings in Northern Ireland. So it's going to be like a downhill mile in October. I'll be taking a break and I'll be slow. But to be able to give those platforms a higher level of coverage is something that's really important to me. And I'm like, quite often I have to be quiet most of the year. I don't get to do as many events for those type of people as I would like, because obviously you have to focus on your athletics and on your racing and let your legs do the talking. But yeah, to be able to go out there and do it for the charities is huge. And then to represent, I realize like that role of being a role model for young athletes coming up is something that's so special. I realized how many times I looked at people, and maybe for me it was always Gaelic games players like hurlers and camogues growing up, because I didn't see quite as many athletes, and I didn't grow up doing athletics. So I watched All Ireland final days, and I was like the little kid in the back garden being like, and Ciara Mageean solo runs and she scored the goal, and like my county weren't making the All Ireland finals then, but I was dreaming of like an all-star and to be winning All Ireland medals for my county. And now I'm getting an invite to like the Ulster All-Star Awards as a guest. To be like, do you want to just come for the crack? And I'm like, I don't even play camogie anymore, but like, it's so funny. Like my sister's boyfriend,
still puck around for sure.
I could get a little puck. Probably stick work, and my first touch would be terrible, but I keep
Chris has no
it
idea
up.
what's going on.
No, I'm leaving this to the Irish to you, 100%.
I would for a wee puck about.
But you say that you didn't grow up in athletics necessarily, but what is it, 12 years ago you won your first junior medal or so. Yeah. So like you're not old, like, but you've been doing this for but you've been doing this for a really long time, and it's been quite the journey. And you did have a lot of success when you're younger, but it hasn't been a smooth ride from then until now. There's been plenty of ups and downs. When you look back on your career, what would you say is, like, if you saw yourself now and you heard 356, at what point in your career would you have believed that the least?
I feel like quite a lot through my career I've had moments where I've been injured, and do you know what, the injuries were nearly the easiest thing to get through. With an injury, you're like, okay, here's a time scale that you can get through this, that's fine. I obviously had a glistening underage career, winning like World Junior silver medals, won like European Junior silver medal, should have been gold, but I lost it. Still annoys me. Like little things like that, and you're like, as a junior, I was on this upward tangent, and I thought it was always going to be that way. Then I missed under 23s completely because of an injury. I had an operation on my left ankle. Didn't run a step for Ireland as under 23. So like, I'm like, flip, that was hard. And then you start to worry, like, am I going to have just been one of those has-beens? Like, people are like, oh, she was a good junior. And I was like, I don't want to just be a good junior. So like that transition from getting back, like 2016 was a good year. I medaled at European Champs, getting bronze. Got to the Olympic semi-final, became away a little bit disappointed, but I managed to like bring my PB down a huge bit that year to like a 401, which was another big jump from 406 to 401. I seem to just do them in jumps. Yeah. I'm going to take it. So like from 406 to 401, but like equally, I felt like it was coming, a long time coming, because I was working so hard and just not getting that reward. And then like, look now, I had waited how many years now between that and running a 356. I'd probably say my lowest is whenever I was just having like unexplained underperformance. Mm-hmm. There was one particular race I'm very bad with years, but I went and ran an indoor race in Germany, and I ran like a 426 indoor 1500. So bad that like
a bad mile.
yeah. So bad that like one of the girls after was like, "Did you fall?" And I was like, "No." Do a race that I probably should have stepped off the track. But many people wouldn't have realised that the week prior, I found out that my previous coach, Ciara Mageean, had died. I found that out on like, say, a Thursday, I think, or a Monday. I had a training session the following day, spoke to my sports psych, spoke to my coach at the time, Steve. They were like, you can take some days off. And I was like, no, Jerry would want me to go and train. So I went out the next day, spanked a really hard indoor training session, and like, genuinely felt like he was there in that moment. Yeah. I always get emotional talking about Jerry. And like, I finished that training session and I just fell to the ground and I cried. And I think it scared some of the guys in my team. Like Ross, one of the lads, was like, "Is she okay?" Like Like, do you know, just one of those like complete cries that comes from somewhere that you're like, and I was mortified that I did it at the track. I was like, get home to Thomas and cry there. That's fine. Don't do it. But like, I have such amazing teammates in Team New Balance Manchester. And you know, in hindsight, I probably should have taken a break, not ran that indoor race, but I did. Didn't want to pull out. Wanted to do it for Jerry, and I went and ran terrible. And like, you know, a situation like that knocks you back even further. My confidence was an all-time low. And like, just little moments like that, whenever you're like, is this it? Is this what all the work is for? You're gonna get hurt again. And like, week leading into the Olympics last year, I tore my calf. Last little like chin-up session, couple of 300s, nothing special. Tore my calf, and like kept it on the DL for a week leading into the Olympics. Towed the line, knowing that like I haven't ran a step for a week. I was spinning, and knowing that I'm not gonna, like, you know, the pinnacle of our sport. You reach an Olympic Games, you want to have a good showing for yourself. I knew I wasn't going to, and I was like, but my coach and chatting to my sports psych is like, what do you want to do? And I was like, well, I'm not coming here not running. And it's like, well, the docs have said you could tear your calf more and you could damage, like you could do some damage here if you do it. And I'm like, I'm not backing out. Like, this might be my last Olympics. I'm not backing out. Ran, tore it some more, didn't get through. And like, that was a complete bummer. Got back and got fit in the winter. First race out of this year, indoors, 3K, ran a PB. I keep going for Mary Cullen's 3K indoor record. Haven't got it yet, Mary. Mary still got it. And tore my calf in that race, the other one. So do you know whenever you're just like, I'm going to get a break. I'm going to catch a break. So I'd say there's a couple of moments along there that were low points.
Yeah.
That it would be nice if I could just go and be like, it's gonna come good.
Well, so you did make the decision then this year, you know, you didn't run the World Championships, and I mean, I can allow you to tell us why, but making that decision was probably not that easy.
Yeah.
And, you know, it was a sacrifice that you made for the long-term good of the rest of the summer.
Yeah, and I think it's another reason why, like, these most recent performances are taking a lot of people by surprise. It's like, oh, well, where was she for Worlds? And so I guess, like, yeah, I mean, you can explain it, I guess, for us.
Yeah, like no one going into this season, you obviously know what championships are coming the year before. So I sat down with my coach at the time, Steve Vernon, and we're like we're gonna have to figure something out, because to be honest, 3 champs, I was like, it's just gonna be too much. Like, it's taken me a while. I'd say this season I'm a little bit more robust of an athlete, but 3 major champs in 1 year would cripple me. Like, I get very sore. I've got ongoing like chronic injuries that I manage, and that like
Maybe you are getting old.
I am. I like women don't like to share their age, but I'm 30 and I'm feeling like I'm running PBs, so it's still 30's been a good year. But like it's not been easy, and so I said to Steve, like, well, yeah, we'll have to make a decision. He was like, what's your focus? And, you know, representing Northern Ireland at the Commonwealth Games is an important thing for me. I only get to do that once every 4 years. I think it's a fantastic representation of the best of what Northern Ireland is, with like, you know, history showing probably not the most beautiful side of that little small country that I come from too. I'm an extremely proud Irish woman, which everybody knows, but I'm also proud to be from the north. So I was like, I want a medal. I've went to two Commonwealth Games prior to this one, and underperformed. Well, the first one I was only a kid, came 10th. The second one, I felt that I just wasn't in shape going into it. It was in March. It was in Australia. I wasn't in the shape that I needed to be in, around 2:4:07s. That was all I had. And I was like, I want a medal. I want to have a Commonwealth medal to my name. So that was one focus. And then it was like, okay, well, to run Worlds before Commonwealth might take away from the Commonwealth. But I was like, but I'm always going to want to run for Ireland in the season. And I was like, I feel like a medal at Europeans. So I felt it was like, what's my focus going to be? Is it going to be finalist at the World Champs, which I knew I could do, but I didn't think it was realistic to think I could medal at World Champs.
Now
now it's all changed. But I felt realistic that I could medal at Europeans and Commonwealth, so that's what I focused on. And look, I wouldn't change it. Like, in looking back at the season, I got COVID right before Nationals, which was only a couple of weeks before Worlds. So realistically, like, come World Champs time, I wouldn't have been in the shape I'm in now. And had I raced it, I probably maybe wouldn't have gotten to the shape that I'm in now. So I think we made the right choice. And knowing that there's a World Champs coming around next year, it's given me, well, this season's given me a whole new outlook on the whole thing.
Because, like, I guess, like, from the World Champs experience you had in 2019, making the final there, and like running in that final, I guess, like, what would you run, 4 flat, right, or 4:1?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then you looked at the times afterwards. I think I read an interview that you did. You didn't realize what, like, Safan Hassan had run, like, up in the front, and I think you said something about, like, how 3:51 was, like, superhuman or something like that. But now it's like, and you're like, I might only have 3:55, 3:56 in me. Now that you already 2 years later have that done, like what has your perspective sort of changed about the event and just the women that you're going up against?
Yeah, definitely. Like I think whenever you go in, the very lucky thing about our sport is like it's very outcome measurable and very like you can look at it as objective. You go in, you're like, okay, this is what my PB is. This is what I've been racing. My season's bests are. You kind of get a realistic realm of where you would be based on training, and you're like, okay, I know that this is where my capabilities are. And you in that World Champs had like little scenarios wrote down. If it was tactical, brilliant. I'm a good tactician. I'm fast and I'll back myself and I'll be able to be up there. I'm not scared to go in and get spike marks, which my legs will prove it. I can show you after. And I'll always battle that. But if it's fast and the girls are going to go and try to run the times that I knew they could run, like low 350s, that was going to be a big ask. But I said to myself, hold on for dear life. And that's what I did in that World Champs. Like I held on for dear life. I just told myself, just stay in connection to the girls and as much as you can and just keep going. So I basically felt like I was time trialing that race. It was just me at my edge where I was like, keep holding this. And I think I was the first person in the race not to go under 4. So it was like 4 flat, something ridiculous. Which is super frustrating as well. But like that was a breakthrough race for me to be in a world final. It was huge to get up there. And now with this season behind me, I'm like, okay, this is a change of dynamic. I know that I can get out and I can race. And like usually 1500 meter, especially in the women's discipline, it still kind of comes down to a bit of tactical racing. And I know that if I'm up there, I can be in the mix now. I can be in the mix and I can come through. That race in Zurich, I ran 58 second last lap.
Pretty crazy.
I
Right?
was like,
what can you run in an open 400?
I don't know, probably
like
close to that. Not too much faster. I think it was me. Plus, that was a rolling start.
Yeah.
But
a 4x4 split.
yeah, like I'd take that in an 800. So I was like, flip, this is good. So it's definitely given me a new outlook and a new perspective, and realized probably given me the confidence that I need to go into major races along with the world's best and say you're every bit as good. And it's kind of nice knowing now that the girls are looking at my name on the start line with a bit of fear.
Oh, and I think this weekend especially, you know.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So I want to go back a little bit, and you know, you talked about working with Jerry and Dublin. I want to hear about that situation when it was like, you know, being at UCD, living, training in Dublin, and then ultimately the decision then to go over and joining New Balance Manchester, which, you know, currently looks like has been a great decision and a good move for you. So first off, tell me a little bit about what that situation was like in Dublin and why you moved and what's working so well.
Yeah, so I moved to Dublin for uni, studied physiotherapy in UCD. So like my first coach was Eamon Christie up in Belfast, and whenever I moved down, I was still being coached by Eamon, and then Eamon had health kind of issues that he couldn't continue coaching me, so he came to me and he helped me find another coach. So I joined Jerry Kiernan, the legend that is Jerry, and
probably had some good stories.
Like you know, I feel like you meet people in your life that like leave a lasting legacy, and Jerry's one of those people for me. Like I honestly feel like he's left like her like footprints in my heart, and you know, realizing chatting to other people that have had the absolute joy of being coached by Jerry, or even just have him as a friend, because he was my coach, but I also considered him a friend, and he was nearly like a second father to me, or probably a grandfather. Down in Dublin, I was super close to him. So had some great years with Jerry in Dublin. He basically brought me from not being able to walk ultimately to making an Olympic semi-final, to being a 4:01 runner. He brought me a huge way, and probably actually gave me an awful lot of confidence as a young kid going into uni, not really having that many friends in Dublin. Like I was the only northerner in my class. Like everybody else seemed to kind of come from like schools, and they all knew each other, at least from the same county, and they knew each other. Like there wasn't even anybody from the whole of Northern Ireland, never mind County Down, in my course. So I was like, oh, the little token northerner. So I was lucky to meet some really good friends, and that was always usually through Jerry's group. So yeah, I had surgery on my ankle whenever I first joined Jerry's group. And I can remember the first couple of runs, like Jerry would come out and do a 5-minute run with me. Like, do you know, you think it's such a waste to put kid on for a 5-minute run? But Jerry would come, and me and him would shuffle around UCD. We'd do that together, and he built me right back up to being to winning my first ever senior medal for Ireland, a European bronze medal. So that was something like was really special. To make that decision to then move from Jerry to Manchester was very tough. I chatted to Pete Riley, who was like kind of head at New Balance in Europe at that point, and he's now global. And he kind of kind of proposed, do you want to join this professional team in Manchester? And at the time, I was absolutely loving training with Jerry, but I was living in Dublin. I was like renting a room in a random house in Rathfarnham. The landlord lived in the house. He was a lovely guy called Ollie from Mullingar. My other housemate was a random Croatian man called Igor, who snored a lot.
Is he listening?
I don't know. Hi, Igor, if you are.
Cats
like,
coming in through the window.
yeah, like it wasn't ideal. Like, you know, just a little share. I know my mom was super worried about me. Like, you're living with these two random men you don't know. Like, I can't. If anybody knows Dublin, like Dublin's one of the worst places in the world to try to find accommodation, and the side of Dublin that UCD's on is quite expensive. So like, you're trying to find like a room to rent in a house in wherever, like. And it was a lovely spot, and the guys were lovely, but like Igor snored so loud. The walls were super thin. I was like,
it's just not other runners, and that's like
Yeah.
the lifestyle element of, you know, teammates in which we're all waking up at the same time to run every day. It's part of
Exactly.
it.
And you're on that journey with them, whereas I kind of felt like a little bit like a lone wolf in Dublin.
Igor was in training.
No, Igor wasn't. Like, lovely guy, like, but he wasn't. No, he wasn't into the Isle running. So whenever I had the opportunity to join a professional team, I was like I'd be foolish to miss this. There's not that many professional teams in Europe. I was like, this is a really good opportunity. So I joined the team in Manchester, made the big move. I will say it was really tough because like it hit Jerry very hard, and probably had like an impact on our relationship, which is something that is probably another reason why Jerry's death hit me so tough, because I had kind of grown a little bit distant from Jerry, hadn't chatted to him as much as I would want to, and like that's probably one of the regrets I'll have for the rest of my life, that we weren't as close whenever he passed. I didn't realize, not many people realized he was unwell. He's a very private man, so it all seemed very sudden, and it hit me like a train. And I thought I would have years. I'd have years to get back and to catch up with Jerry, to reminisce, to be like strolling around cross-country races with his hands behind his back and his scarf on, and talk about the good old days. And he'd tell me about the Ballycotton 10, like for like 160th time, and I would listen and be just as enthralled as he was whenever he told me it for the first time. And to know that I wouldn't have that I thought I would always have. So if there's any lessons for people out there, don't wait. Get in touch with those people.
If there was someone who probably knew you could run 356, it would have been him.
It was Jerry.
Right? Like,
Yeah.
Even if you didn't believe it at the time.
Whenever he took me on, that's one thing I respected hugely about Jerry. When he took me on as an athlete, he said, "I'm very nervous to take you on." And I was like, "Why?" And he's like, "You're so good, I don't want to mess it up." And do you know that?
I love that.
Do you know that honesty?
Yeah.
To realize, like, and I was like, "Well, we're a team, so we'll figure it out together." And like there was a transition there where I realized this is not like, he's not just solely a person telling me what to do and dictating that. We're together in this, and whatever decision he makes, I know, and any advice he gives me, it's with my best interests at heart. And if there's mistakes made, then it's a joint mistake. We make it together. We're on this journey together. So that was really huge. And he gave me, you know, he kind of rekindled a love for athletics in me, and a love for actually just running and training, because I saw what he had and I saw how much he gave back to our sport, which is also something truly special, to be like, I want to do that. He got so much from the sport, and he's given so much. Like, the man wouldn't let us buy him a coffee. Like, Christmas would roll around, and he ran, like, I'm a New Balance athlete, so I shouldn't be advertising other brands, but he ran in Pegasus. That was his shoe. He always ran in it. So that's what we get him, a couple of boxes, because we were like, what else can we get the man? We get him like some vouchers for like a Italian like restaurant, because he loved Italy. And like maybe like I used to send like maybe like some cat food, because he had a little cat that he loved. So like things like that. So he taught me so much. So then moving to Manchester was tough for me, but I have to say it was the best decision that I ever made. I think at times you have to be selfish and make those decisions for you, and it might not suit everybody around you, but you know, the people that love you the most will understand. And Jerry may not have taken it easy, but I know that he was happy to see me doing well and to perform well. So joined Team New Balance Manchester at the tail end of 2017, and there's been rocky years, ups and downs there too, but I kind of feel like I found my wolf pack. So it's been really special being with that team.
Well, then this spring you get a new coach in Helen.
Yeah.
I guess how's that transition been? I mean, in the middle of a season to get a new coach, that is, you know, but you know what? Oftentimes it does work out, because I feel like it's suddenly a brand new variable, and if you buy in, which is always the hardest part, and if you buy in and you just decide you're going to trust the person, that individual, then like, I don't know, it seems to have worked for you.
Oh God, yeah. Like, and do you know what? I wouldn't have planned it like this. I wouldn't have said, "Oh, do you know what we'll do in April? We'll change coach."
No one puts that on the training schedule.
Nobody says that. Like, do you know what will be a really good idea? Switching it up right in April, right before the season starts. But that's how it happened. That was the transition that was there. Steve got a job, my previous coach, with GB Athletics, and so he went to GB, and Helen stood in and took over head coach of Team New Balance Manchester. And like, God love her, she was just handed this full like quota of athletes. Like, there you go.
Yeah.
And some of them are getting ready for pretty major champs this summer. Like, Johnny was going and racing Commonwealth Games. I was racing Commonwealth Games and Europeans and whatever was coming after. Like Izzy was had a full racing season, as did Hannah. Yip was coming back after an injury. Adam and Ross, they were working hard, and Ben was getting ready for big marathon. So like, it was a lot. Like, to suddenly take on one athlete would be tough, but the whole team. So my hat's off to Helen, because she did a phenomenal job. She stayed cool, calm, and collected, and reassured us. And like, as you said, for me, it was like, you have to buy in. I know whenever Steve moved, like, chatted to my coach Ricky, my agent Ricky, and he was like, well, what are you going to do? Do you want me to look at other teams? Do you want? And I was like, I just didn't even, what? Like, didn't even occur to me to leave.
This is my wolf pack.
Yeah, this is my wolf pack. Like, I was like, no, I didn't even think to leave the team. Like, this is my gang. Like, I want to stay here. And I was like, well, I have to give Helen a chance. Like, now's not the time to change something like that drastically. So like, I have to give Helen a chance. And like, Helen was really good. Like, she was like, you know, we'll see how this season goes, Ciara. If it doesn't work for you, I'll help you. Like, you can tell me if I'm not the right person.
That humility in coaches, like, you know, you're just saying with Jerry, now with Helen, like, that's a sign of, like, the difference between a great coach and a good coach is that willingness. But, you know, of course, you see her accomplishments as an athlete. Like, she was excellent, so that helps you probably in that buy-in process. But had you ever been coached by a woman before, and how have you enjoyed it?
Yeah, I've never been coached, and it's actually interesting. My previous teammate Anna Sylvander, who was in Team New Balance Manchester, moved back to Sweden this year, like last year, and she just started being coached by a female coach. So she was telling me how that was while I was still being coached by Steve. And I'm like, oh, this is interesting. Like, what's it like? What's the dynamic like? And now I'm in that situation. I've chatted to my sports psych about it. I was like, it's definitely a different dynamic. Being a woman being coached by a female coach, it's certainly something that's more. I feel like, how could I word it? I feel like Helen's really enabling me to have ownership of my own athletic career. She's probably given me confidence in knowing my experience, because there's a lot of things that she's like, well, what do you think? And I'm like,
you're also very old.
I'm very old. I prefer the term mature. Experienced. That's what they call me on the Irish team. And Ciara's an experienced athlete, and I'm like, oh, it just means I'm the old one now. But yeah, Helen's really given me that confidence in my own knowledge, and probably that's always been there. But she's like, come on, like, she's like, Ciara, you've achieved things now in this sport that I never achieved. So, you know a lot. Like, she's really helped me dig deep into my own knowledge, and probably that confidence that comes with that. But to be coached and mentored by somebody who I looked up to as an athlete. I raced Helen actually whenever I was 19, my very first Commonwealth Games.
Really?
Yeah.
Who won?
Helen beat me. She did.
She was at the peak of her
yeah,
career. That's
she
not
was.
fair.
I was only a youngster, but I think I came 10th in my first Commonwealth Games. She was maybe like 7th or something like that. So I'm too far ahead of me. So to come full circle, like, I put up a little post on my Instagram that I had a clip or a video from my first commies, and a picture of me and Helen, and then a clip of me and her having a hug after that Commonwealth medal. And do you know what? Like, she's in balls of tears after my races. It's so lovely to see, like, it means so much to somebody, and she knows the journey I'm on, and she's yeah, it's lovely. And as well, no better woman to take me into my 30s, because Helen didn't retire until she was about 40. So she had a long career, and a long, healthy career. So that's another thing of being coached by a female athlete that had such a good, strong career, that you're like, it can be done. And it's a really good role model to have as a woman, to have like a fit, healthy woman who had a good approach to her athletic career. Because like, I feel like, I hope that I'm a good role model for girls, that, you know, you can have a healthy body. You don't have to be like super, super lean and stick thin, because I think people often think that. Also, people like to tell me, like, you look huge next to those girls in the 15. I'm like, thanks.
And I'm running like, away the last 100.
Yeah, and I'm like, well, I'm strong. I like, you know, I could be like the heaviest I've been, but I'm running fast. And like, you know, I'm not worried about that. I'm eating like bagels with the guys for the breakfast up there with Philadelphia cream cheese on it. Loving it. I was like, I'm gonna be pocketing loads of those bagels to bring home.
So jumping forward to, you know, we're here for Fifth Avenue. off-season plans? Are you like right now? A lot of athletes holding on. You're feeling good. Like
It's like a weird time to catch fire.
Yeah, I know.
So you're here. Maybe a lot of the listeners of this podcast already know the results, but you're feeling good about this race. I hope. But then you look into the off season. Are you excited? Or you're like, oh, I wish there was a couple more races.
Yeah, I'd be lying if I said I wasn't excited for a break, because in as much as I'm hitting my peak now, I've been training hard all year, and like it wasn't an easy year. It was rocky with a calf tear last summer. I had to get 2 injections in my knee going into the cross country season. Tore my calf again in Jan. Got COVID. And and I coach change. So I think like actually after the champs, I kind of crashed a little. I felt like really low. Felt really sad for some reason. Chatting with sports like being like, why can't I focus on it? And I was meant to hand in an assignment to the college that I'm doing like a S&C course through, and I was like, can I have an extension? I've just postponed the course because I'm like, I can't focus on it right now. It was wrong of me to think I could do it in racing season. So I'm looking forward to that break, and like giving some time to the people that have given me so much time, like my long suffering boyfriend Thomas, who is just the man watering my plants.
We had him
at
out
home.
at the group run this morning.
Yeah, like he waters my plants when I'm gone for ages. He is the one that's like that quiet, like steady person there for me, and I spend some time with Tommy, get home to Portaferry, see the dogs, see my family. I'm really looking forward to that. Absolutely love that. But yeah, I'm hitting like some amazing form. So I only wish that there's a couple more races. I'm not gonna lie, I'd love to have raced another 800 because I lost my Irish record this year and I want it back.
I love that. So I guess like because we were talking last night with some of the guys, and there's no World Indoors, but there is European Indoors taking place. Is that sort of the early thought for kicking off 2023 for you? Because then of course Worlds is the big thing.
There's also that 3K record.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've got, and I feel like people often forget, I try to go out and lash at the cross country too. So
That's right. Yeah.
so my aim will be like get. It's always hard because my break comes a little bit later, like taking a break mid-September, and then I have to I'll take a week off running and then start easing back. Otherwise, I'll be absolutely banjaxed. And then I'll get in and Eurocross trials comes around really fast, and to run an 8K, and I hope it's not 10K now because there's talk of the women's race going up to 10K.
Relay.
No, I don't want to do the relay. I was like, no, the relay's the easiest thing for me, and they always want me to do it. But honestly, like, I love to hate it. Love to hate an 8K cross. Like, you should if you can, you should like put some pictures of me finishing Eurocross up in this. It's absolutely hilarious. My parents, my little siblings make memes of it. It was in the front of the papers before. Me just collapsed over the line. I rolled over the line at Eurocross once. That's how I finished. Like, it's embarrassing, but I like lay it all bare, and I think it's something good and humbling to come off the track after a glistening career and to have like your arse handed to you over the cross, and to be like, I'm knackered. I love it. And I hate it at the same time. So I'm going to try to make the full cross team. And if I don't make the full cross team, do the relay.
Okay.
And
I'm
then-
sure they
and then
want you
indoors.
on the relay because Ireland would have a good shot at mixing things up.
We do. Like, if we put forward our best relay team, would have me and Sarah Healy in the women, and then Andrew and Luke.
Yeah.
It'd be fast. It'd be good. So I'd imagine like they would love that. But the full cross at Eurocross is where the prestige is. And I always like to go out. I feel like I can be a scoring member of the team. I might not be first, hopefully we'll have Fionnuala out there, and she is like the queen of the cross.
Yeah.
So like I'm just there as like a humble addition to the scoring card, but more than happy to do that. And I think it also puts me in really good stead. A really tough cross country season gets you in really good shape for the indoors, and I think building off that base, like a strong base of training going in to build up to indoors and then outdoors next year. So that will be the aim. But yeah, European indoors will be a nice wee focus to build on towards World Outdoors.
Yesterday, I recorded a podcast with Faith Kipyegon, and in the morning, and I said to her, I was like, "You're talking already about like women running under 350. Like, where does that come from?" She goes, "Oh yeah, like we're gonna run like 348, 349 next year." And so it's like, for you to hear something like her say that right now, and like that's your biggest competitor, but at the same time, like you weren't afraid to like just be on her heels and at the Diamond League final. Are you sort of like thinking, let's do it, let's go after that? Or are you like, all right, I'm at 356, my progression says maybe 352, 354 around there, or are you just like, let's just go for it?
To run 348. I
Big
think
jumps. You said you
I need
only
a
make
bike.
big jumps.
You take them off in chunks.
Yeah, I might need a bike for that one. Like, I probably, if you had told me at the start of the season you're going to run 356, I would have bitten your hand off. I'd be like, oh my God, are you joking me? And you know, part of me always felt like, chat to my boyfriend being like, I'd happily hang up my spikes with 356. I was like, is that where the limit of my performance I felt would be? Like, yeah, now I'm like, well, could I go faster? Like, there's a new confidence there. I don't think 348, but like, I don't want to jinx it. I don't want to put a scud.
Yeah, we'll play
but-
this clip when you
yeah,
run 348.
But actually, I cooled down with Faith after Zurich, and I was like, oh, hard luck in Monaco. I was screaming at the TV, really wanted you to have that. And I was like, you know, chat to Ricky, because if you need some fast pacers, like realistically, if she's going to have somebody to pace her, she needs the girls that be racing with her and against her. And like, I think you're very lucky. I feel very honest whenever it comes to this type of stuff. I'm like, it's wonderful to be in our sport whenever it's at its peak. Like, women's 1500 meter running is in just a realm of its own. Like, there's a couple of other distances in our sport right now, like men's 15's doing fantastic. 400 hurdles for the men, you're like, wow. Like Femke Ball as well, and the women, you're like, wow. I think the women's 800s are doing absolutely amazing. Do you know, you get little generations that some event takes off, and I feel like part of me is like unfortunate that, you know, my generation has been so glistening hot, because maybe in previous years the times that I'm running would win medals at major champs, and I would have loved that.
Maybe they definitely.
Yeah. But there's also something lovely about being part of that generation. You're like, I'm part of that, and I'm part of it getting better. And that's fantastic for our sport, and it's fantastic for me as an athlete, because that drives me forward. And to be able to go out and race somebody like Faith is amazing. Like, she'll go down in history as one of the greatest, if not the greatest, 1500 meter runner. She runs 358, or sorry, 348. That'll be, you know, that's friggin' moving. So, and I chatted to her after, and I was like, you know, if the opportunity comes and I'm in the place that I can help, I'd love to help.
Wow.
Like, that's something that, and I think that there's part of that, you're like, to be part of that story and to be able to help somebody, because I don't think I could run 348. But if she can, and she wants a hand on the way,
meters of it,
I could, yeah. I could try, because like she had pacer to like 820 in Monaco. That's not long enough, lads. Like,
yeah,
it's tough to do that on your own. So if she did what she did, off running most of the race on her own, like, what can she do if she got a good hard pace? That would be even tipping for 12, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
What's the splits?
Well, final question. In New York, it's also the end of the season. What's like the thing when you're here I have to do?
Head out with you lads after and have
The
a good old
unofficial
party.
after party.
we're gonna have a good old shindig after
Sunday
this.
nights in New York City.
It's genuinely, that's what I'm looking forward to most. I'm like, well, I have to also say, the last time I think came third, Fifth Avenue Mile, I got the best tricolor I'd ever been given. The quality was amazing. I was like, I took it. I took it home. It went in my bag. So I'm hoping to get another one. Oh, sugar, don't tell NYR. I stole their flag.
Do you have any good like Irish bars here?
Yeah, where we're going. Where we're going. No, I don't know. I don't think it's an Irish bar. The
We'll have
best
to hit
Irish
somewhere.
bars are up in the Bronx, Woodlawn.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm kind of staying for a little bit of a holiday after, heading up to Boston and then coming back. So I'll hit up some Irish bars.
If you need a place to stay, I know.
Alicia needs a baby.
Well,
Yeah.
what was it 2015, 2016? Kira came to the Long Island Mile and stayed. She came a little early.
Stayed with your mommy and daddy too.
Yeah, stayed with my parents, but also stayed at our apartment. And we had a guest book. And whenever people came and stayed with us, we would ask them to write a little like note, like just, where are you from? What day did you stay? Tell us about your experience. And Kira has the best handwriting
Really?
you have ever seen. And you've heard this from other people, I'm sure. I mean, it should be a font. It's beautiful. People are going to be
If anything,
curious
it's just
now
neat.
after.
Yeah. Well, no, we're wishing you all the best of luck tomorrow in the race. Or if people are listening to this after the race, congratulations on winning.
Don't jinx it. Touch wood. I'm a very superstitious woman.
But
Congratulations on having fun.
Yes. And let's have a party.
It's an incredible season. I mean, I'm excited for what you put together next year.
Thank you. Thanks for the chat, guys.
Thank